It's Friday. You know what that means.
Yeah!
Welcome, everyone, to episode 357 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The F at Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
And I am Malik Neighbors' new number one fan, the brainless one.
Yeah!
Yeah.
All right.
And what I mean, this is such a week for the wrestling. And it's draft. I mean, huge draft wrestling week. Because not only do we have the first night of the two-night WWE draft starting tonight with SmackDown and Raw, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yep.
But we also had professional wrestling kind of pour over into the NFL draft this week as well. And
feeding into the whole draft thing is we had seven releases.
Seven.
That's not counting the people that were let go at headquarters.
Right.
So we'll get into all of that. Plus, there have been a few things out there that really have piqued my interest. There has been quite the race this week for the good, the bad, and the brainless. Quite honestly, there was a lot of good this week. Quite honestly, there was a lot of bad, and also a lot of brainless. And trying to really boil it down, I mean, we have a very, very good crop of news and just crazy things that have turned up. Some names that I have not heard in a few years came into the conversation. You got airline captains sending notes to wrestlers, everything. You got Hulk Hogan coming out with something brand new that we've never heard before, and I certainly can't wait to get into that. We got new champions. We find out with the draft that the champions aren't changing brands, which is good, and just a whole mess of other things.
And we get to talk about Lars Sullivan. If you had told me at any point in the last year or so and said that we were going to be talking about Hulk Hogan, Tony Khan, the NFL draft, Lars Sullivan, all in one episode, I'd be like, you're crazy. There's no way that we could get all of that.
But here we are.
And lo and behold, look who won the pony.
Brainless one, where do you want to start with this?
Well, let me go look over at my notes. And I'm glad that you mentioned all the other things about the podcast. I almost forgot to mention to everyone. I told Jay not only before the podcast, but I texted him earlier on when I was doing my notes. We have history being made tonight on episode 357. This is not an exaggeration. Something that has never happened in the history, in the 356 episodes before tonight, never has happened before tonight it happens.
All right, it's clearly not Curtis Axel.
No.
We know that. Mike Rainey, Tim, what's up, man?
If there is one thing I want to talk about, I would like to start this off on a positive note.
Okay.
If we can. I want to talk about how, after all the things that we have talked about with AEW, the way they book, the way they do things around there, and how, believe me, I am constantly, just absolutely constantly bashing them on a week-to-week basis. They finally did something right this past weekend at AEW Revolution or Dynasty or whatever the hell it was called. Just too many pay-per-views to go by. They have a new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and his name is Swerve Strickland. I cannot explain how happy I am for Swerve, for winning the AEW World Championship, for becoming the first African-American champion, world champion in AEW history. It is a very, very monumental,
Yeah.
situation that has unfolded. He is a very hardworking performer. Of all the people that they released back when they released him a couple years ago, he was the
That
one
was
that I
mistake.
never understood that one. It was stupid. It was foolish. You didn't give him a chance to actually thrive on the main roster. What did you expect was going to happen when you put him in there with B-Fab and Flop Dollar?
The thing is, that could have done something. It was just because there was a different person booking the show. I bet if Triple H was on that show, if Swerve had not already signed his deal with AEW, I bet Swerve would be doing something pretty damn fantastic right now in WWE.
Oh, he would have had he would have won one of the titles. My guess is he would have taken the title from Seth. Swerve would have done something really good for WWE. And granted, I wasn't a huge fan of him coming out and vocally expressing how, how he felt about his release and how they were tampering with all that stuff. That's kind of stuff you kind of leave to yourself. But at the end of the day, the guy is an incredible performer. I enjoyed his work when he was in Lucha Underground. He did good stuff when he was down in NXT. I really had a lot of hope for him when he was in the main roster. He's just got everything about him. He's got the look. He's got the presentation. He knows how to get a reaction from the fans. He's a damn good in-ring performer. Yeah. He can talk. And all of that he has. And you sprinkle in a little bit of the Prince Nana. And you know me, I'm not one to actually speak positively of AEW. But that is one thing that they got right, was not only booking Swerve the way they did, but adding the element of Prince Nana to his whole presentation. I am so happy for Swerve. Congratulations on winning the AEW World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, super happy for him. And, you get somebody like Samoa Joe, who is a longtime pro in the business, big badass, I think was a good person to put the title on. And he wasn't quite a transitional champion, but kind of was.
Yeah.
In the sense that they, MJF needed time off to recover and get surgery and all that jazz. And who do you put the title on? Hey, put it on Joe. Reliable as far as great heel, great promo, great in the ring. Sometimes a little bit injury prone and sometimes maybe doesn't do the cardio work he needs to do. But
right.
He does all the other stuff extremely well. And for 45 years old, dude still moves pretty well and still tells and sells a good story in the ring. And that's not the only good thing they did. I've not seen the match. I will go out of my way to check it out. Danielson and Ospreay sounds like it may be the greatest match of all time. I think even Dave Meltzer may give it 20 million stars.
Oh, he's already given it stars.
It sounds like it was everything that you wanted it to be and more. I will definitely check that out. Almost everybody is ranting and raving about the match.
They're all probably AEW fans too. I'm
sorry, Bryan Danielson will not get ire from me. The guy can go. Will Ospreay, whether or not he is your cup of tea, as far as what he does in the ring. But Will Ospreay is a hell of a performer too. I don't like what he did, a couple of weeks ago when he called out Triple H and did that. That felt very lowbrow and unnecessary.
See, I first of all, I have no issue with Will Ospreay. I think he's a tremendous in-ring performer. I would have loved to have seen him in WWE. And if if circumstances were a little bit differently, I would be tuning into AEW to watch him perform because I do like Will Ospreay. The one thing I will say about when I had, the YouTube TV for that year when, I was on there and didn't want, because I was trying to get the football package and what have you. But I was able to go back and watch a lot of old New Japan stuff, a bunch of TNA stuff, a bunch of stuff that wasn't available to me years ago that I finally had access to. And I got to see Will Ospreay go up against the Ricochet. And that was a very, very fun match. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. Will Ospreay can go in the ring. I didn't like the finish. And I didn't like the fact that Dave Meltzer comes out and says that this was the greatest match in North American wrestling history. This is the same asshole who did not give Kurt Angle one single 5-star match, but he gave this one 6.5 stars. Clearly, he would have given it 7.5 or 8 if it was in the Tokyo Dome, and would have been 9. And it would have been 9 stars if they had Okada and Omega in a fatal 4-way match.
And speaking of those two gentlemen, we did get an angle this week on AEW Dynamite. Again, something that AEW did correctly this week, specifically Tony Khan. For all my misgivings about jerk-off Jack Perry, and that I think he should have been fired. Tony Khan has made the decision to keep him in the company and to turn this into storyline. You know, when they said they were bringing out the all-in footage a couple of weeks ago, I was like, the only thing that would make sense for this being played is Jack Perry comes back, and this is part of that thing. All that being said, he's still an immature little D-bag, clearly. But if this gets him over, I mean, I come back to when he feuded with Christian. I'm sorry, like, when the dude's bringing up your dead dad constantly and you can't get emotion in your promos, dude, like, this, like, should be a gimme. And you couldn't do it then. You know, maybe this could be a difference maker. Maybe the fact that you will have people around him instead of it just being him and Christian trying to carry him completely in a one-on-one thing, at least being involved with the Elite. He will have a couple other douchebags in Okada with him to help project him forward. But Jack Perry did end up coming out at the end of he came out at Dynasty, but then came out at Dynamite, and they were kind of asking Tony Khan to come back, reinstate Jack Perry, and Tony Khan comes out and seems very enthusiastic, like, yeah, let's get this done. Tony Khan doesn't say anything. Jack Perry takes him down. Young Bucks come to save the day, and then they don't. You know, they do Young Bucks stuff, and they did the Meltzer driver. Tony Khan sold better than John Cena ever sold anything. Played dead for like 5 minutes in the ring, and then continued with a neck brace like Vince McMahon in the steroid trial during the NFL draft, which then was picked up on by the GOAT Bill Belichick and Pat McAfee. And then, to make it even better, the first round selection from the Jaguars also talked about Tony toughing it out with the neck injury after he had sustained that on Wednesday night. There he was Thursday, toughing it through. We got to see Shad Khan also on Dynamite. I mean, honestly, AEW, in my view, had a really good week. They did a lot of good things. In as much as I don't think Jack Perry should be allowed back in the company, the EVPs shouldn't be EVPs. They are. Mm-hmm. And what they've done with this story, I think, works pretty well. And next week on Dynamite, we get the return of one of your favorites, Kenny Omega. I don't think he's going to announce that he's coming back in the ring, but he is going to at least be at that show in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and we'll be addressing probably the Young Bucks after they kicked him out of the Elite. And I think there'll be some things, whether it be with Okada and or Jack Perry. So, I mean, this is leading to a bunch of kind of storylines that were kind of out there in different spaces now coming together. It could be good. It's Tony Khan booking, so it could turn to crap in a millisecond, but I'm going to give them really good grades for the last week.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. And it's because, number one, it was as clear as day that Jack Perry was going to help the Bucks freaking win the titles from FTR. It was as clear as day when they did the whole footage and they were talking about the Scapegoat and they had the T-shirt and all that stuff. So I wasn't surprised by that. And then he comes out there and he hits Tony with one of the worst, and I've seen some of the shittiest punches ever. Shane McMahon, I can't even really do the Eddie Kingston, like the chop. That's the one thing I'm not a real big fan of Eddie Kingston is the machine gun chops that he does, and he's patting his stuff. Like, come on, man, that's a little cheesy. And and Becky Lynch's forearm attacks when she's running at somebody. I've seen some really, really
Naomi.
bad. Yeah, I've seen kids slug their siblings and hit them harder than Tony Khan got hit by Jungle Jerk. And then he dropped like Joe Biden after he was coming off the airplane. And then he stayed down for a minute, like me when I'm trying to get up from bed in the morning. And it takes me 27 minutes to get out of bed every morning. It was just, that was like, okay, that was a little bad. But this was your first episode coming off a historic pay-per-view. I'm not talking about buy rates or all that stuff. The fact that Swerve won the championship was a big deal. The fact that the Bucks won the titles and Jack Perry was possibly being reinstated. And what kind of a number did you pull in for your ratings? Not even 700,000. So
to be fair, they were going against the NBA playoffs. When WWE on Monday Night Raw goes against NFL, what do we always know?
No, I'm watching Monday Night Football and not Monday Night Raw.
Exactly. People are watching the NBA playoffs. So we need to tell the whole story. We can't be those freaking jerks. We tell you only a little bit of the story. We're not telling you only a little bit of the story. We're telling you, hey, by the way, there was stronger competition than they normally get on Wednesday nights. And guess what? Ratings don't always show up immediately. If you start doing good things, because you've been doing shitty things for a long time, people tend to tune out. But if you start doing good things, they tune in. Look at the Attitude Era when WWE was doing stupid shit before it. And you had Dr. Isaac Yankem and you had other shit like that going on. And people lost the faith in WWE and what Vince was doing. And then once they started doing good things, they didn't overtake WCW in a night. It took a while. And I'm not saying AEW is going to overtake WWE in any way, shape, or form. They are not Pepsi, and WWE is not Harvey Weinstein. It used to be.
Now, I agreed. I would say that, yes, they are going up against the NBA playoffs this year. However, this time 2 years ago, also going up against the NBA playoffs this past Wednesday, 2 years ago, did over 920,000. The AEW Dynamite from that Wednesday from last year in 2023 did over 700,000. So the fact that in a 2-year span, they lost nearly 300,000 viewers at the same time that the NBA playoffs comes on every single year, because the NBA playoffs is every single night, every single year, and the hockey. Because even I'll admit I watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, because why wouldn't I? It's not like I have a reason to watch the Red Sox right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would never watch the Yankees. I got more important things to do. Watch the Yankees. Like, anything's better than watching the Yankees.
You can't listen to, the greatest radio announcer of all time, John Sterling, anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Very sad.
But the fact.
What I'll say about that in general, the TV industry, you are seeing less numbers across the board. I bet if you looked at WWE's numbers from 2 years ago and compared them to today, it probably would also show that there's a decline in audience. I would ask you to check how many times people are going to their website, how many times people are looking at their YouTube clips, because those mean something. WWE, for basically the run-up from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, sold out all those shows, right?
Correct.
what is a more effective gauge of how entrenched the audience is into your product, whether they show up or whether they turn on television? Because guess what? Right now, the numbers they're getting on the television aren't anywhere near, in this WWE specifically, what they got 15 years ago. They used to get 4 to 5 million people. Attitude Era, I mean, the most viewed thing ever was Mick Foley, This Is Your Life, Rock. Got 8.1 million people to tune in.
I mean, if that's the
and
case,
they sold out arenas all the time. 10 to 15 years ago, they were not selling out arenas all the time. WrestleMania just did, I think they said it was 38% more as far as revenue than they had done the year before. It might be 48%. I might be screwing up those numbers. I think there are other metrics these days that are different than TV ratings that could show you a growth in a company. The fact that AEW does have half to 3/4 empty arenas and they're going into lesser arenas than they were is a bad sign. But if this was like part of, maybe they've turned a corner, and even if they didn't execute these things perfectly, like, yeah, Tony Khan taking a bad punch because, hey, he's not trained and he's about the size of a twig.
And explain to me that, how not even almost 5 years ago, Tony Khan said, I'm never going to be the type of person who's going to get in the ring and take bumps. That's not how I am. That's not what I'm about as an owner. I'm not going to do it. Fast forward 5 years later, Tony Khan's eating a stupid finisher named after a stupid motherfucker on a stupid fucking television channel by a stupid fucking tag team that I have no fucking respect for. In fact, that's fine if you want to talk about the ratings. I want to know what the ratings were for that final segment then, because all I saw was the total ratings, the 690,000 people who turned in, and I already know that number is going to drop significantly because all the big bangers are going to turn on and say, why am I going to want to watch Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor basically set up for a ladder match for the custody of Orange Cassidy? Or it's whatever it is. I don't even know what the hell's going on because I don't watch it. I refuse to watch it. What's the point of watching it? There's so many other things you could do on a Wednesday. I can think of something better that you could watch on a Wednesday than Dynamite. There's a white wall in my hallway. I could just sit right in front of that for 2 hours and be more entertained by that. I just can't. And it makes it worse is the fans. The fans are what makes it worse. They are cultish. They're going after the Sala Monster and saying that he's basically an e-drone.
that dude craps on everybody equally. If you do well, he will say that you do well. And I mean, I don't think anybody would accuse Jim Cornette of being a WWE drone, but he certainly has a lot more compliments to WWE than he does AEW over at least recent history.
I will say this, though. Cornette will give props where props are due for AEW. He loves FTR. He loved CM Punk when he was there. He loves Samoa Joe. There's parts about AEW he actually likes. He just doesn't like anybody associated with Twinkle Toes and the Hardley Boys and any of their douchebags like Luke Perry's illegitimate piece of shit son. And explain that to me. He comes out there and he's going to cut this promo. I felt nothing from Jungle Boy. He's been doing this for 5 years. How has he not gotten better on the mic? And I know you can say all the things about, well, how long did it take Roman Reigns to get better on the mic?
But
Roman Reigns' dad wasn't Luke Perry. Roman Reigns' dad wasn't Dylan McKay. How can you not have a personality? How could you have no kind of emotion other than the fact that you look like an entitled little shit? You know what he looked like? He looked like himself from that picture of him and his dad from SummerSlam when he was a 7-year-old kid. The only difference is like he glued on a fake beard. He has now the most punchable face in all professional wrestling. I have never wanted to see any single wrestler, one single wrestler, fail more than I want to see Jack Perry fail. I want him to come out next week, wherever the hell they are in Canada. I think it's in Winnipeg.
Manitoba. Yeah.
It's in
Winnipeg,
Manitoba.
Manitoba.
I want them to chant CM Punk. And every time he comes out, I want them to chant CM Punk. And I just want everything to fail. And I want to see him try to face adversity because we saw it clear as day a couple weeks ago on Dynamite. What it looked like when Jack Perry was facing adversity staring at it in his face. He cowered and came off as even more of a pretentious little shit. I'm sorry. I can't. There's nothing they could do. The fact that they fired their biggest draw, one of my 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, a guy that I would go to bat for in every conversation. I will defend CM Punk every day and twice on Saturdays. And if you ask me 400 days in a year, just like Hulk Hogan, I would do it. No questions asked because it's CM Punk, and I appreciate what he's done. The fact is that what he did was probably uncalled for, but he shouldn't have been the only one that lost his job. It also shouldn't have been him and Cousin Chris that lost their jobs. The Bucks should have been stripped of their titles, and Jungle Boy should have been fired. I don't care. The fact that you played off this thing like, oh, he's going to be the scapegoat, and now he's going to end up in New Japan, that is a bunch of bullshit. I don't get this. He's going to rip up his contract? Are you freaking kidding me? It was so stupid. It just goes to show you that no matter what you do, if you're not associated with the Young Bucks, then you're not going to have the kind of career that you want. Because if you want to be like a serious wrestler and take this as like making money, because that's not what AEW wants. This is an art form for them. This is them going to the Webster Theater and putting on a performance for people. This isn't about selling, tickets. This isn't about making money. You could give Jungle Boy a piece of paper and a freaking green crayon, and he's still going to draw money.
Exactly right.
He can't talk. There's nothing appealing about Jungle Boy. Everything about Jungle Boy that is to like has nothing to do with him. He is very unlikable. I would say he's the Austin Theory of AEW, but I think that would be disrespecting Austin Theory because I don't even think Austin Theory is nearly as bad as Jungle Boy. One of their pillars.
We've talked about him being a pillar of sand.
He's just
a pillar of sand. Mike writing in the chat saying Dominic Mysterio has more personality and can wrestle 10 times better than Jungle Jerkoff. And I admit I was not a fan of Dirty Dominic Mysterio for a long time. Chris Brown saying Dominic won't be doing much of anything for a while. He needs Tommy John. I've heard conflicting reports about him needing surgery, but I guess we'll find out a little bit more shortly as far as that goes. I think it'd be oddly ironic if Mommy's out with an arm injury and Dom also out with an arm injury simultaneously. I think that would be pretty interesting. But, if a company is to turn around, whether it's viewership or what have you, it's like you don't sit there and like build an audience in a night. They've done so much bad stuff for a long time. Even, again, if execution wasn't the greatest on Wednesday, as far as Tony Khan and Jungle Boy delivering the punch, people are talking about it. People are looking at those things. If they continue to do things making positive strides storyline-wise, they may be able to regain some of that audience that you said, screw you, I'm done with you. I'm part of that tribe. You're part of that tribe. I'd like them to succeed. They got a valuation of $2 billion for that company. $2 billion. Not bad for a 5-year-old company. I mean, the Dastardly Voldemort sold WWE for $9 billion. And that company has been around for like 70 years. So Tony Khan's doing at least something right. I still go back to when he had just one show, Dynamite was extremely watchable. And I think, honestly, the linchpin and it being watchable and stories being told was Cody Rhodes. Losing Cody Rhodes was much bigger than anything else that went on.
Because after Cody left, they were starting to become more of like the New Japan style and less of what they were before, as like the alternative where it was a nice mix of everything.
Yeah.
And now and they're like, oh, we're gonna do the rankings. So we're gonna do the rankings, but Dustin Rhodes is gonna become, is gonna get a title shot against Samoa Joe.
Right at like when as Cody is trying to finish the story against the Samoan wrestler.
And explain to me how Jon Moxley, who is the New Japan Pro Wrestler or IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, is defending the title against Powerhouse Hobbs with no rhyme or reason behind it. Like, I get Take a Shit coming out at the end of after their match and saying he wants a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, but that's because it's Take a Shit. He wants two things in this world: Cinnabon and to be world champion. And that kid has a lot of potential. I had a lot of high hopes for him, but unfortunately things happened because he ended up in AEW. But it's just crazy that this is the stuff they do. Like, Jey Uso won a number one contenders match to go up against Damian Priest at Backlash. AJ Styles had to win 2 matches to get a match against Cody Rhodes at Backlash.
Yes.
Powerhouse Hobbs, and it's nothing against Powerhouse Hobbs because I actually enjoy Powerhouse Hobbs.
Love him.
He's one of my favorites over there. It's a shame that I can't watch, because I actually did like watching him wrestle because he's a good.
Unless he's going against Danhausen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but that's an entirely different story. But like, why is he getting an IWGP World Heavyweight title shot? Like, who's Swerve's number one? Has Swerve even fought Marco Stunt yet?
No.
I mean, it's like what
because
what is
he wasn't
going
a part
on?
of the cuts that Tony Khan promised he would never do, but ended up doing.
Just
like he said, he would never be involved in storyline. Like I said, I think they did a lot of, in my view, they did a lot of positive things this week, but that's not to forgive them for all their past faults and problems. Again, I don't think Jungle Jerkoff should be there. I don't think the Young Bucks should be EVPs anymore. But Tony Khan made his decision, and with the decision that he's made, it's like going, okay, I'm not going to sit there and complain like going, well, they shouldn't be there, and it's like they're there. Okay, what are they doing with this story? Do I think this thing is okay? At least they've made the all-in footage make a little more sense than it did before. A little bit. Clearly, though, it was more of a petty man trying to one-up the pettiest man in all of sports entertainment, who no longer is in sports entertainment, but I think possibly may want to get back into sports entertainment.
The thought of him, Bucky Beaver, Vince Russo, and whoever else you could fucking come up with starting up another wrestling promotion, I want to see it. I do. I want to see it in the worst possible way. But that's because you know how I am, Cousin Jay. You know that I like chaos. You know that if they get it, the 3 of them, 2 Vinces and Bucky Beaver working together to start another wrestling promotion. I could just imagine who he's gonna like. Yeah, John Cena's really gonna go there. You're gonna get 47-year-old John Cena to do it next year. Vince.
Right.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna call who? The final boss? The Rock? No, you're not gonna do that.
No, he's on the board of directors of the other company.
Hey, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get the Undertaker? Last time I checked, Undertaker's on a very, very long-term, very financially beneficial Legends contract that doesn't expire until he's 70. What are you going to do, Brock?
And there are a couple of things I definitely want to say about this. So, and I will actually say his name because Vince McMahon has hired the public relations firm that is responsible for Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish does great things. Great things.
Yes.
Good for them on that. They also do promotional stuff for Pepsi. And then the last name on this list for me that I thought was very interesting that was on all the dirt sheets was Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, the man who allegedly seems highly likely sexually assaulted and or raped a woman in Colorado many years ago. And this PR firm rehabilitated his image. I happen to believe everything that I see in the allegations that Janelle Grant has brought against Vince. Why would you make up stuff like this? Why? You have texts showing that he was that way. Texts, more or less proving these things, right? Why on God's green earth, like if you see this about a human being, if you are part of a PR firm, hey, I understand money is money, but you should have principles. Why would you take on a client like this? Why would Vince McMahon need to clean up his image?
Because he's
other than that he wants to do something else in public view.
He's going to be
just go away for the rest of my life. I don't need to hear about you for the rest of my life. Why would you need PR? Unless you're trying to win like a court case or you're going to do something else. I don't think he's going to win this court case. He's going to settle for a whole shit ton of money. But then he's going to try to rehab his image.
Yeah, he's going to rehab his image because Donald Trump's going to pick him as VP. Oh, they just want me to win in November, Jay, if that's the case. If Vince McMahon is Donald Trump's pick for VP, we're going to the White House January 20th of 2025. You, me, and F. Mark's Hall of Famer Shawno will be walking into the White House on January 20th.
With El Hesse.
With El Hesse. Wait. And the first thing I do is I get the Bucks and I deport them to, I don't know, I'll just grab a map of another country, throw a dart at the map of the world, and whatever country it lands on, that's where the Bucks are going to get deported to.
Right.
Oh, it's amazing. I threw a dart at a map of the world and it ended up in the trash. I guess I'm deporting them to Philadelphia.
Hey, say what you want about Philly, man. They knew how to sit there and run a show and get people in and out of their venue. And quite honestly, comparatively speaking to like when I've been in Boston, been in New York City, it was a dream driving through Philadelphia, comparatively speaking, to both of those cities. Yet they threw snowballs at Santa. Never going to live that down. Quite honestly, the next time I want them to have WWE when they have their Christmas show. I want it to be in Philadelphia, and I want to have Mick Foley as Santa and see what Philadelphia does to him.
I don't, because I don't want to see what I do to Philadelphia if they throw snowballs at Mick Foley dressed up like Santa Claus.
All that being said, why would a man hire a PR firm like that has done good things to make the image of certain people's pristine? I'm sorry, there's no cleaning up that turd. And what, like, for money, have some principle and say, sorry, Vince, there's too much shit on you. Too much.
That's what Janelle Grant
cannot take you on.
That's what Janelle Grant said, pal. Oh, it's going to be so funny when Trump wins in 2025, and the first thing he does is he pardons himself and Vince
And
McMahon.
Vince, and
Oh
Vince,
yeah.
yeah.
While the Tiger King is still waiting outside of his jail cell, I'm gonna
And,
get pardoned.
and yeah, he's gonna wait outside his jail cell like that, and his eyebrow ring's still gonna be holding on for dear life.
I'm never gonna recover from this financially.
On a separate note, got some things in the chat about the draft, talking about Raw and SmackDown, and are NXT people involved, and do we believe that NXT is going to get gutted from this draft?
I
have a couple of thoughts on this specifically. So, what I think is going to happen, yes, clearly there are people from NXT coming up. The fact that Braun Breaker came out and cut a promo saying goodbye to the NXT audience. Clearly, he's on his way up. I think Dragunov, now that he's lost the title, is clearly on his way up. I think there are a couple other folks from NXT on their way up. Yes, those are the people that were the main event, the top of the card for quite a while.
I don't know if they're going to.
I think with the fact that they're going to a new network coming in September, I foresee that there are going to be what I would consider people who are like mid-card tier people that will go down to NXT, and they're not going to be upset about it because they're going to be kind of the upper echelon of that show that will be on network television. And they're going to be part of, having some veterans with some star power, along with some rising people like Trick Williams, who, by the way, is another new champion from this past week. I think there's going to be, yes, a lot of those people who were in the main event coming up to the main roster, but you're also going to get a good crop of people that will end up at NXT.
I don't think they're going to gut it. And I already know that Braun Breaker, I know he's been bouncing back and forth between SmackDown and NXT. Technically, he's a SmackDown star and he's available for the draft. Like you said, Ilya Dragunov is another one. Roxanne Perez, although she just retained the women's championship, so it would be absolutely foolish for her to get drafted.
Yeah.
We've already seen Tiffany Stratton, end up on SmackDown and everything like that. I don't really foresee a lot of NXT people getting called up to the main roster. I mean, somebody like Tony D'Angelo, I still think needs to spend some time down at NXT because they kind of got a good thing going down there with the D'Angelo family, and they're not quite there yet as a faction. They need at least another year down at NXT, or 6-9 months down the line, you want to, we're going to bring in the D'Angelo family, and they're going to start whacking people, which I'm on board with. I'm completely not offended by that.
On board.
A what?
Bring Tommy Cutlets on board.
And bring Tommy Cutlets on board. Absolutely. Honestly, there's probably going to be more women than anything that are going to get called up from NXT because they're very much a plethora of female wrestlers that can make the jump to the main roster. I wouldn't be surprised. I know that she's only been back for a little bit and she hasn't really had a chance to kind of shine as Sol Roca. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought her up to the main roster. She's a lot of fun to watch. And she's got a great finisher. The Riptide or the Low Tide or whatever the hell it's called. It's the thing that she does.
Rhea's move.
Yeah, I know it's some kind of surfer-based type of name for the finisher, and it's cool. I enjoy her work. I know she just came back from the knee injury, but she's one that I wouldn't be surprised, especially because she's dating Tyler Bates, so it makes sense to have, the significant others because they like to keep them all together.
Right.
I do agree with you. I do think we're going to see a bunch of people from the main roster, people who are going to go down to NXT. People like Ricochet comes to mind. You could keep Ivar from the Viking Raiders down there. Hell, you could even have Eric down there when he comes back.
Because, by the way, quick aside, congratulations, Eric and Valhalla. They are expecting another child. Good for them.
Another Minnesota Viking.
Yes.
They should name it, what's the quarter? J.J. McCarty Rowe.
Something.
Yeah, that'll go over real well in Ohio State country.
Maybe they'll name the child Ragnar. Ragnar Lothbrok. Was that the ancient Viking Whether or not he's real or fictitious, I don't think we know, but they've based the show Vikings off of that. By the way, WWE Hall of Famer Adam Edge was in that show for a bit.
You think you know him?
On the day I say clearly, he'll come to life.
And yes, congratulations on them. If it is a boy, though, they have to name it after one of the most famous Vikings, either Leif Erikson or Randall Cunningham.
Eric the Red.
Randy Moss.
No. All right.
He was a famous Viking.
Good.
Famous Vikings. Remember that.
Okay.
Or they can name him Robert Smith, and I'm not talking about the one from The Cure.
Right.
Yeah, I knew that, though.
Oh, wait, Kirk Cousins.
No, he's a Falcon, even though they drafted a quarterback yesterday, too. But
well,
yeah, I can definitely...
They see Kirk is a transitional quarterback.
Oh, yes.
Anyway.
A very, very, very well off financially transitional quarterback.
Yes.
But yes, I agree with you. I think that there's going to be an influx of people from the main roster that are going to be going down to NXT. I wouldn't be surprised if when they re-sign Natty that she stays down at NXT and does her thing there. I mean, honestly, she could go anywhere. It would make sense because it's Natty. I can see Shayna Baszler going back down there if she feels like she's not getting utilized as well on the main roster. I mean, they could keep carrying Cross down there because it seems like that's the only place in WWE he actually gets over is in NXT. Right. So there's a lot of different things that they can go. I'm trying to figure out if this is actually going to be a thing where it's going to be, does NXT get draft picks tonight and on Monday for Raw, or do they have their own? The way
they discussed it, so with the draft, they said that there are going to be 4 rounds of the draft tonight, but they didn't specifically say whether NXT is getting picks in there. But it says 4 rounds and 16 picks, which sounds like it's multiple brands, like beyond Raw and SmackDown.
I don't know if it's gonna be like, remember what they did last time when the way they do it is so stupid now.
They did a whole bunch of things, and then they would do like big picks where they would have people come out to the podium or come out to the stage and mention stuff.
Cousin Jay, let's be serious for 2 seconds here. You and I can both admit right now that what they have done with the WWE draft over the last few years is watered down, and it just sucks. It is not fun. I used to get excited for the WWE draft. That was the one time that I actually was excited for all 3 hours of Monday Night Raw was when they did the draft. When they did the draft and like the special anniversary episodes of Raw, or when they were going to bring the legends back for the sake of bringing the legends back for those 3 hours of Raws, were great. And I was glued the entire time from 8 o'clock to 11 p.m. I was glued because the draft was so much more fun. It was very unpredictable. It just feels watered down and just stupid the way they do it.
If they're going to Monster ended up pitching an idea, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Make the GMs more involved in this, whether it be Shawn Michaels, whether it be Adam Pearce or Nick Aldis, and have them do trades, even if it's quote unquote during the season. During the season, make trades. We saw a hint of this when Cody Rhodes brought main event Jey Uso to Monday Night Raw.
And got Captain Cupcake shipped off to SmackDown where they have better cupcakes and catering.
Yes. We've seen hints of this, but will they make that more a part of their presentation going forward? Whether or not, somebody's getting over on whatever show it happens to be, like, hey, put like a top person and trade them for the other top person. Will they do something like that going forward? I mean, when CM Punk came on board, they had all the different GMs pitch him why he should be on that show and sign him as a free agent. You also have some performers out there, specifically Adam Pearce, on, I think it was Instagram, posted a picture of Brock Lesnar and from that time when he went to the butcher shop earlier this week. Is this a sign that maybe Brock Lesnar is part of this draft? Does Brock Lesnar, is he one of those free agent types? Is Roman Reigns, because he's going to be away for a while, part of the free agent types?
Roman Reigns is part of the draft.
A free agent, like, and let them kind of go between whatever show. These are the things, and you need to have at least a couple of names switch brands. That way, it feels like something fresh. I like the idea of keeping the champions on the shows because, let's say Cody Rhodes switched brands with Damian Priest. They just went through these title redesigns, and the title redesigns meant a specific show, right?
Not necessarily, but
the thing is, let's say that there was a trade and you got Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes swapping.
Yeah.
But you didn't swap the women's. And then you got the, like, one title that looks like one thing on one show, for the men. And then the other show, it looks different for the women.
And that's the same for the tag teams, too.
Would you get into a thing where Cody would have to exchange the title that was finishing the story with this brand new title that Damian Priest is wearing right now? Would it be like that Charlotte and Becky Lynch moment?
Oh, nothing would be like that.
I'm glad that they have completely avoided that by saying champions outside of the women's tag team champions who, are not beholden to any show.
Right.
They are going to stay where they're at. I like that.
I will say this. I want a trade. That's the one thing that has never happened in a WWE draft that I know of, is a trade. I would love to see a trade. I would love to see like a Cody Rhodes for a Damian Priest type of trade. I would love to see like a Sami Zayn for Logan Paul type of trade. I want to see a trade. I want to see draft picks getting trade. I want the SmackDown's drafting first tonight. Why can't Raw be like, well, we'll offer you our second and our fourth, and you give us your first and like your 10th or whatever. I want to trade. I want to see something different. I want to see something that's never happened before. I want to see something crazy. It's because I miss the days where, I miss the days where it was Raw and SmackDown showing up and they were fighting against each other. Whoever the wrestler associated with the show won would get the draft pick for their thing. And the main event would be a 10, 12, 27 person over the top battle royal in the last, the show that had the last people.
Rey Mysterio.
It's just like, I missed the draft when John Cena was drafted to SmackDown at the start of the draft, and at the very end of the night, he got drafted back to Raw. I miss crazy shit like this. It's not fun. It's not as enjoyable anymore. I need something crazy to happen. I need Nick Aldis showing up with a neck brace on. I need R-Truth coming out and saying, like, I'm going to Jacksonville or something like that. I need something crazy, something silly. I need anything, just absolutely anything right now. I just need that.
You mentioned R-Truth. I completely forgot about it until this moment. Did you see his tweet after Swerve won?
Mm-mm. I missed it.
He put my dog at True Kofi. I didn't know that you had gone through the what was it? The unmentionable door. Kofi went through the forbidden door and won the AEW title, at least to the character of R-Truth. And I want to now badly see on WWE television R-Truth confronting Kofi and be like, "Dog, where's the title, man? I saw you win it a couple of Sundays ago." They won't do that, but
that would be
badly
tremendous.
would like that to happen.
Oh, that man is just a treasure. You know, it's funny. I went back and watched a bunch of his stuff because I could go back and watch anything from R-Truth. I watched him from the Rumble when he came out in the Women's Rumble and was like, I was dying. And every time I see him on the screen, I'm dying. He's one of the very few people who can entertain me no matter what it is he does.
I mean, the hot tag, I was watching back, the television version of Night 1 of WrestleMania. It was one of the hottest moments of all of Night 1 when he got that hot tag that he didn't need to take. He's just so good.
He's just fantastic.
He is a treasure, just like Robbie Ross. Okay, he is a treasure greater than Robbie Ross. Chris Brown in the chat saying, here's a trade. Trade Mommy for Jade Cargill. Not bad, but I would not do that. I do not want to break up the Spooky Pals in any way, shape, or form at this moment. They need to remain full spooky, and if they end up being more on one show than the other for the foreseeable future, that's fine.
Liv Morgan's going to steal Dominic Mysterio. Damian Priest is going to realize he's going to do better without the Spooky Pals. Finn Balor is just going to go do whatever he's going to do with FP.
And by the way, Finn Balor just signed an extension with WWE and will be there for the foreseeable future. Good for you. You know what? He's had a heck of a run in WWE, and he deserves to be re-signed. He's still performing at a super high level. Good for Finn Balor. I say don't break up the Spooky Pals now.
They're going to break up the Spooky Pals.
There's still some time.
Him and FP McDonough are going to be the only two left in like the whole thing because Liv Morgan's going to use Dominic Mysterio as her way to get back at Rhea Ripley to this whole Liv Morgan revenge tour type of thing, which I may or may not be fully vested in. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I'm curious what they're going to see, what they're going to do with this draft. I do think that Funko Head is going to be not a Spooky Pal, and there will not be Spooky Pals.
Right.
But I am very happy for Finn Balor. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Everybody may be cool, but they're not Finn Balor wearing a leather jacket cool. I'm sorry. He is one of the coolest fucking human beings. He is a tremendous performer. Love seeing him in WWE for the last 10 years, and I'm glad that they re-signed him, especially because I drank the tears of every AEW fan who was hoping Prince Devitt was going to AEW to go and play Tiddlywinks with Kenny and the Bucks.
Kenny! 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 Kenny in the Bucks! Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But we are talking about the draft. I maybe we could talk about other transactions that happened.
Sure.
Because everybody was all up in arms after Tony Khan, who said he wasn't going to be releasing anybody, release people. And we're like, well, what about WWE? Well, of course, WWE comes out and releases a bunch of people in the last week or so.
Right.
The following people have been future endeavored by WWE. I can't even believe I'm going to even say this first name. I'm still shocked. And if there's anybody ticketed for AEW, it's this man right here. The Jinder. They promised us a Punjabi prison match.
There should have been a Punjabi prison match between him and The Rock in India.
Now, if there's another thing, maybe I'll come up with that for a list of 10 ways that AEW could try to win me back. But the possibility of them doing Jon Moxley versus Jinder Mahal inside a AEW contraption version of the Punjabi prison, I would be on board with. Yeah. I would get that pay-per-view and just hope that, Jon Moxley doesn't bleed within the first 3 minutes.
That's asking a lot.
But along with Jinder Mahal, they also released Indashir.
Yeah.
Veer will no longer be coming to Monday Night Raw.
He veered in a different direction.
He's about to veer himself to unemployment. Xia Li, the first Chinese-born WWE superstar, who they just didn't know what to do with her.
I think they had a couple of interesting ideas, and they just never fully invested in her. I enjoyed when they tried to have her be almost like an arcade character, but like they had her come out like a week or two. I think part of the problem is she's just so small, and it's hard to be a killer when not only are you short, but you're just thin in stature. Like Asuka's, even though she's short, looks like she could kill you. She looks like that.
She looks
part
like she
of it's
could
her crazy eyes, and part of it is like, at least she's got a little bit of girth to her.
I saw her in a match with Minoru Suzuki where Suzuki beat the fucking shit out of her, and I think she still beat him.
Yeah.
Minoru Suzuki, who's like the grand princess of Japan now because he beat Miki Oda in a match. He's now the grand princess.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, let's see who else. Zion Quinn. Anyone remember that Zion Quinn was even on the main roster?
Yeah, I mean, allegedly he was on the main roster. I thought he was a fine talent, but it sounds like they were considering him part of the main roster, even though like he would make sporadic appearances on main event. Like, nah, he was an NXT person. Just because he showed up a couple times, maybe he was making a little bit more money because of that. It's like, you cut him because of that. That to me says like poor planning and decision making for him. Again, talented dude. I hope he lands on his feet. I know there's one name on this list that
Hold on.
Sad at all.
I'm getting there. Don't worry. I was going to get to Cameron Grimes, Trevor Lee, who
Very sad.
5 years ago WWE had both Trevor and his cousin Keith, and now they'll both be in AEW together. Or Trevor Lee's going to go back to TNA. I'm a little surprised by this one. I was a huge fan of Trevor Lee when he was in Impact Wrestling. I thought he had some great character work, had some great matches over there. Was really excited to see him come to WWE. I loved the original Cameron Grimes gimmick. It was different. It was unique. To the moon. It was fun. It was something different. Hell of a worker in the ring. It's unfortunate, and the way that they kind of did it to him was really that of all the things that Triple H has done since they got the stench of Voldemort out of there. That might have been the one that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. I don't think there's any great way to let somebody go, if they're a hard worker and moving forward, like as far as how good they are in the ring, how good they are as a character, how good they are overall as a performer. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but
the only thing I didn't like about it was the fact that last Friday that he asked and they were like, no, you're fine. You have a spot in this roster. And then I think it was Monday or Tuesday, they called him and said, you've been released.
Yeah.
That was my only gripe. I thought they really mishandled that.
Crappy. Yeah.
And last and certainly not least, the one name on this list, and believe me, I actually went back. I'll even go back here. Hold on. It was back about 30 episodes ago, 329, if I'm not mistaken, or 328. Let's see if I was right. Right here, yes, it is. 328. The top 10 people who needed to be released. I got Rick Boogs and Riddick Moss and Kevin Patrick. There's a clothesline off the ropes. Whatever they're doing with Noam Dar, I actually changed my mind on that because Lash Legend can actually wrestle. I don't even know if Eva Marie was on the roster when I put this thing together, but if she wasn't, I would have wanted her to come back just so they could release her again. Bucky Beaver, which was the surprising number 2 on this list, it actually got released. But there he is, number 3, Von Wagner.
Yeah.
The future main eventer, Von Wagner. The only person on planet Earth who can't cut a promo better than Jungle Boy. Von Wagner.
And he's been there since 2019, so 5 years.
And it's funny, too, because they were talking about Von Wagner being released, and I was like, did he get released with everybody else? And this is just the Roger Dorn, Charlie Donovan situation? Forgot about Dorn because he's only high-priced. Forgot about Von Wagner because he didn't really do much. He sucked. Couldn't cut a fucking promo. He had no personality. I've taken shits that have more personality than Von Wagner. I'd love to see him go in AEW. That'd be, how's it going, guys? I'm Von Wagner. My dad was an Eli Blue. Or was he Jacob? I don't remember. I'm just
no. He was part of the Beverly Brothers.
Oh, that's right. He was one of the. He
Wayne
was Bo or
DeCrane
Blake.
Bloom.
Oh, he was Bo Blake.
Bo
That's
Bloom.
what their names. That's what their names were.
Yeah.
And
The Blake.
Bo,
the Beverly Brothers.
Bo Beverly and Blake Beverly. They were Bo Blake, just like it was Wesley. What was I used to calling the 2 guys that were with Alexa Bliss in NXT? Wesley Blake and Buddy Blake. Blake Murphy. That's what I used to call him. I used to call him Blake Murphy. Because I was like, I don't care. I don't give a shit about these 2 guys.
Not gonna work here anymore.
But that's the same thing with the freaking Beverly Brothers. They're Blow and Blake. They're Bo Blake Beverly. Doesn't matter which one it was. Nobody cares. Because Von Wagner sucks. How could you come in? You were even in there before these guys. You were in there before Carmelo Hayes. And you were in there before Braun Breaker. And guess what? Braun Breaker was also the son of a guy who was in a tag team. And look at Braun Breaker. Go ahead. Tell me who's got a brighter future in professional wrestling at the age that they're at than Braun Breaker right now.
MJF, maybe.
I'd take Braun Breaker. Just because he's younger and he has and MJF is a close second, though. I would say they're 1 and 2. But I would take Braun Breaker just because he's a little bit younger. And my God, Jay, he is a specimen and he's fast.
And he is a math whiz.
Just like his uncle.
Runs in the family.
So he's got that on MJF too. Yes, MJF is leaps and bounds ahead of him on the microphone, but that's because MJF is leaps and bounds on the microphone over 97% of the wrestlers in professional wrestling. There's nobody in AEW who could touch him. There's only a handful of people in WWE who could touch him. But I would still take Braun Breaker just because his upside is just tremendous. His ceiling is unreal. The kid that's a pillar I would build a foundation around is Braun Breaker. Not Von.
Talking is not all. Most of the time, it's a thing you need to do. Sometimes there are people that don't need it, whether it's Asuka, whether it's Brock Lesnar.
He's not
even
great.
Randy Orton. Randy Orton still is not a great promo, but he has a presence about him that supersedes, the lack of the fact that he is not a great promo. He gets the job done.
He doesn't have to do. That's because all he needs is the 4 most dangerous letters in all professional wrestling.
3.
The R. That's what I meant. The three most dangerous letters in all of wrestling. The RKO. And he's one of those guys that can handle himself. I'm not saying that Braun Breaker is Roman Reigns suffering succotash, but I'm not saying he's Mike the Miz going out there and freaking doing laps around these people.
Right.
He can handle himself. He's the perfect next Heyman guy. Because Braun Breaker rattling out of his lips would be just as good as him doing Brock Lesnar. And you can't tell me otherwise. And if you really want somebody that can end Brock Lesnar's career, there's your guy right there. And that's one hell of a way to get him that stepping stone to be the next big guy.
The next big thing.
The next big thing.
Yeah.
But that's my whole point. Like, Von Wagner was there for so damn long. What did he do? He threw the ladder out of the ring and decked a fan. And I'm not talking about the spinning fan that was up in the Performance Center during COVID mania. I'm talking about the fact he actually hit somebody in the crowd. You know, crowds, AEW fans, the things that actually show up for your wrestling shows. Oh, wait, you don't know what a crowd is, do you, AEW fans? I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm not sorry. But
in the chat, Mike Rainey saying, thinks it's highly unlikely, but wonder if with the roster cuts that they're trying to shore up enough money for MJF to get him away from Redacted. And he thinks that that's one of the reason, but that's why I think Drew McIntyre will leave WWE. Endeavor, WWE are making plenty of good money. I think they just saw some of those talents is dead weight, who they did not see a lot of upside to. They had used them as much as they felt they could and did not see anything in them.
They freed up 900.
They let them go. I mean, again, WrestleMania did gangbusters business. They made way more money than they've ever made for any WrestleMania they've ever done. They made more money in the past year than they've ever made in their entire existence. They're not short on money. Yeah, they have investors that we, to have to answer to. But all that being said, WWE is doing just fine. They probably didn't need to cut those people, but felt, again, like, hey, these people really aren't improving to the way we like them. I mean, clearly, I think the Jinder and Cameron Grimes are two names that, hey, maybe they could have kept around, that were worthy of being kept around. Like, why did you have that thing with Jinder and The Rock? Like, I know that it was to troll the audience a bit, right? But Jinder did well in that segment. Jinder did well, and you let him go. So there are a couple of people that they cut that I'm kind of like, maybe they shouldn't have. All that being said, they probably felt like, one, they were getting rid of folks that they didn't really see a long-term future in. So, but again, WWE, not worried about money in the slightest. And I'm just going to add one little caveat. The FTC this week came out and voted 3-2 that they're getting rid of non-compete clauses. So that means we're going to see more Lex Luger-esque moments possibly in the future in pro wrestling. If somebody's contract runs out on a Thursday, Friday we could see them on another show. Now this has 120 days to clear, which means we have another 3 or 4 months before this could be officially enacted. But there are a lot of places that are already bringing it to court as far as wanting this to happen. I am, for one, happy this happened. In my industry, there are a lot of non-compete clauses that you have to deal with, and more or less, it ends up forcing people to have to move into other places. And if they don't move into other places, they're more or less forced to not work or go into a completely different field for 6 months to a year before they could go to a new place. The non-compete clauses to me have always been bull crap. Always. And it's been bull crap because, hey, I have finished my service to you. You paid me for it? Great. But I fulfilled my contract. I should be free to go out for where the hell I want to go. I should not be beholden to you. That I signed a contract with you, and oh, by the way, technically my contract's over, but there's still 6 months where I am not free to do what I want, or there's a year where I'm not free to do what I want. With WWE, it's usually 90 days. You're not free to do what you want. That to me has always been bullcrap. You let me go, I should be able to go over wherever the hell I want tomorrow. You said I'm not good enough for you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for paying me for all these years. I'm out. I'm an independent contractor. I'm not an employee of you. See you tomorrow on Impact. See you tomorrow on Dynamite. See you tomorrow in New Japan.
I would say
working 400 days a year this year.
I would say see you tomorrow on Dynamite, but nobody tunes into Dynamite. So, two things I want to bring up though. Number one, you mentioned earlier how AEW made $2 billion or grossed or whatever it was.
They've been valued at $2 billion.
Valued at
company.
Now, where was WWE valued at?
So they got sold last year for like, what was it, 9.1 billion. So about 4.5 times the value.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they could afford MJF if they really want MJF. Apparently, whatever they signed Finn Balor to was some astronomical amount of money. It made what the Red Sox gave Pablo Sandoval look like pennies. And quite frankly, I know they're going to get a better investment out of Finn Balor for that kind of money than the Red Sox got out of the Fat Panda. And now I forgot what my other point was going. Oh, we also want these non-competes to kind of stay a little bit longer though, because Vince McMahon has a non-compete that expires in January. You don't want that to expire in August, because that gives more time to the dastardly Voldemort to make phone calls to Bucky Beaver and possibly Shitstain. If he was smart, maybe call Cornette and just base it in Kentucky so that Cornette could be your head booker and all that stuff. Just to really stick it to freaking Vince Russo. Oh, my God. Really stick it to Tony Khan.
Hey, Vince would not cede head booker to anybody.
Or have Cornette be your in-ring commissioner for when you have Elias, because that's really the only people you're going to be able to bring back are like Elias and, I don't know, Maven. I don't know. I mean, Madcap Moss. I don't know who's out there really that they could bring in, especially because if Freddie Prinze Jr.
him a retirement match.
If Freddie Prinze Jr. is hell-bent on starting his own wrestling promotion and kind of basing it after Lucha Underground, and believe me, if Freddie Prinze Jr. is going to do a wrestling promotion and it's anywhere remotely close to Lucha Underground, I now have my alternative to AEW every single week. Yeah, and I'd be on board. I'm a huge fan of Freddie Prinze Jr. I hell of a talent. I think he's a pretty good actor. What was the movie he did with what's her face? The one that the girl turned out she was a dork and then she was hot at the end.
10 Things I Hate About You.
No, that was the one with
Can't Hardly Wait.
Was it Can't Hardly? I think it might have been Can't Hardly Wait or one of those movies. But he was really good.
One of those movies.
He was fantastic in that. But Vince McMahon, it scares me, Jay. This is the shit that keeps me up at night. Knowing that the dastardly Voldemort is very possibly back in cahoots with the builder of dams. And it could possibly bring us back the shaky camera and the crowd shots and 27,000 Big Show facing heel turns. And Elias with all the titles. Okay, Elias with all the titles wouldn't be that bad. Who am I kidding? But, all we know, the Funkasaurus could be back.
Hey, he could just buy up NWA and start from there.
I would not. No, Billy Corgan is too smart to ever do something like that. He knows not to deal with the devil. He was part of Smashing Pumpkins.
We'll see.
I'm pretty sure he was at what was it, Woodstock in '99.
I forget if they were there in '99. They might have been there in '94 too. But
well, '99 was the one where Limp Bizkit almost set the place on. Almost blew up the fucking place.
I was at the Meadows in Hartford where it was almost set on fire at a Rage Against the Machine and Wu-Tang show.
Oh no, I didn't see that happening.
1997, baby. I think it was August 17th. August 17th, I think it is. 97.
And then you're gonna tell us you were at Lake Compounds for when Milli Vanilli was caught lip syncing.
I was
right?
not. I was not.
I'm gonna laugh when I find out I was actually there and I didn't realize it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That would be almost as bad as when I found out that I missed out on the Undertaker's debut, and that's something I will never live down for the rest of my life.
Wait. Now, did you really miss his debut? Because I just heard from a very reliable source this week, the Undertaker actually did not go to WWE, I think it sounded like 92 maybe. It sounded like it might have been 92. I think there might be some dates mixed up in the WWE history books. Undertaker, according to this extremely reliable source, did not start in WWE in 1990. You know, like this person said that, you know, he was the reason that the Undertaker ended up on the movie Suburban Commando. That came out in 1991, brother. And he was the one who brought the Undertaker in. He saw him on TV and said, "You know what, brother? We got to get that guy."
I remember me, Mark Calloway, from his time in Mid-South, brother. And I was like, we got to get you to WWE, Vince. We got to get you in there, and you got to see this guy. And I brought him in, and we're talking to Vince and everything, and Vince was like, I'm going to make you the Undertaker. And I was like, I don't know, brother. The body bags, the pale complexion, I don't know if that's going to work, brother.
And remember, brother, when he tombstone pile drove me and I broke my neck in 27 places and I needed 537 back surgeries because of it, brother. That man cost me some money after all I did for him when I brought him on Suburban Commando and then brought him in to WWE. He did not do it on his own accord. Simon Cowell did not come to the United States on his own accord. It was me, brother. It was me the whole time.
Jay, like I said earlier this week when I texted it to you, when I saw that story, I don't think I've ever, not only have I never texted anything to you faster, I don't think I've ever texted anything to anyone else faster in my life than when I texted you that story after I read the Hulk Hogan Undertaker thing. I said there's no, because you know what it is? Because here it is. Here's the problem that we have encountered, or at least I've encountered now. I keep thinking that he's not going to say something stupid that just makes him out to look like an even bigger liar. But yet here we are, once again, episode 357, and Hulk Hogan is feeding people lies like Samoa Joe feeds people Samoan cookies. It was one thing when he said that he traveled 400 days in a year. It's another thing that he blamed his own children for not getting the Foreman grill as the spokesperson for it instead of George Foreman. It's another thing when he said that he was supposed to be the lead bassist for Metallica, even though Lars Ulrich said that he was full of shit. It's even more outlandish than the whole thing with Simon Cowell and the kid with the egregious odor that was the Make-A-Wish from England, and he was there at the main event at Wembley Stadium, brother. And, or the fact that my all-time favorite, I think. Now I've changed this, and it's going to change over time. I still think my all-time favorite was the fact that he was partying with Jim Belushi, Weekend at Bernie's style after WrestleMania 2.
Or the Elvis was a big fan.
Hogan's biggest fan was Elvis. Elvis used to go and watch him wrestle all the time. Even though Hulk Hogan was in the business maybe a week.
700 pounds.
Yeah, and killed him 9 days later.
WrestleMania 3, tore every ligament in his back. There are ligaments in the back.
This is now
7 days before Andre died. And then 7 days before Andre died, but another 10 months before he wrestled Andre in a rematch. They resuscitated him because he was only mostly dead.
I mean, that was a good thing, because if it wasn't for the fact that Andre had that connection with Billy Crystal, he never would have gotten brought back to life by Miracle Max.
Yes.
Don't ever question the Princess Bride knowledge, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and Goonies. And even though we might have to do the Truffle Shuffle, as we will now be known as Goonies from 77 to 83.
Yeah.
I will do the Truffle. No, I will not do the Truffle Shuffle. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
But when you sent that, that Hulk Hogan told that story, like, I just figured at this point in his life, he was just going to keep on recycling the old ones over and over again. And it was just going to be that. And like, he really has come up with some new whoppers. Again, I'm awaiting the official Hulk Hogan clarification of the story of saving the person from the car crash.
Oh, yeah. Where he saved the 27 children, the 12 puppies, the 9 kittens, Kamala Harris, Nikolai Volkov, and the entire South Korean gymnastics team.
And oh, by the way, did you hear that he actually made friends with Iron Sheik before he passed?
I did not.
Neither did I, but I know it's coming soon.
Hulk Hogan's going to come up with the story about how he was in Puerto Rico and he was the one that should have saved Bruiser Brody, but they were going to stab him, but they stabbed Bruiser Brody instead. I'm waiting for that story. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm waiting for the story that Hulk Hogan's going to be like, I tried to tell Vince not to do the Montreal screw job, brother. Just remember, he was the one who knew that Kevin Owens was going to be a star. Not the fact that he was killing it in Ring of Honor for a decade before he got to WWE. No, Hulk Hogan said, no, that's Kevin Owens' guy, brother. He's going to be good.
Yeah. Yes, that was great. Like, some people might put that in a possible bad or brainless category. This is one of my competition for good for this week.
Every time Hulk Hogan opens his mouth, it's good for me because I am entertained.
He is never not sports entertaining people.
It's either he's lying about something that he shouldn't be lying about, or he's getting the name of the venue wrong. That is what the immortal Hulk Hogan has come to. That is what my once favorite wrestler, my hero, is now resorted to. He is the laughingstock, and I'm all for it. This is what I want. This is what I need. I need him to come out in a couple of weeks and said that it was him that was supposed to be picked to play the role of Jack in Titanic. That's what I need.
I mean, he was supposed to be the wrestler. That's another one that he put out there. Darren Aronofsky, who was the director, is like, no, we never considered him.
They're like, could you imagine that scene? Or I think it was Cornette. He's like, could you imagine that scene in The Wrestler where he's in the deli cutting the meats? Could you imagine like a 6'8" Hulk Hogan cutting cold cuts? Like how believable is that?
Getting cold cuts.
Gonna get some cold cuts today. Woo, 44, that's me. I'll do the icky shuffle. Do the icky shuffle. Woo!
Get cold cuts.
Get some cold cuts today. But yeah, that's basically what it is with Hulk Hogan. He went from take your vitamins and saying your prayers to getting venues wrong and telling lies.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear. You know what else I want to hear is the story about how he broke away from Scientology. I want to hear how he put L. Ron Hubbard in a freaking headlock. How all the Scientologists had him and they were all cornering around him. And I'll tell you, brother, this is how it was. Every single Scientologist, brother.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise and everything, brother. and they were all just surrounding me, brother. And they had the Hulkster down, and I was looking up to the heavens, and I was like, what should I do, brother? And then I felt the power of God and the Hulkamaniacs. And as they were beating down on me in there, and I had L. Ron Hubbard, and I got up and I was shaking. And then L. Ron Hubbard hit me again, and I shook again, and I was trembling. And then he hit me again, and I went like this, brother. And then one more, and I pointed at him, and every single resident on the planet were you at the same time. And I beat him, and I punched him. I hit L. Ron Hubbard with the big boot, brother. And then I ran off the ropes. 1, 2, 3 after the leg drop. Earl Hebner raised my hand, or it could have been another guy with the expensive plastic surgery, brother. And then I celebrated with Brutus Beefcake and Cyndi Lauper, brother. And Sky Daily.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. Wait, that's not even the only impression I'm going to be doing tonight. Oh, no. Wait, I got
great.
one more impression coming up because we still have at least one more topic that I have in my notes.
Yeah,
waiting to get to.
I mean, there are a couple of things here I've got. I know it was a discussion we had. The new tag team belts for A-Town Down Under are fire. I love those things. The framework is somewhat reminiscent of the titles from the late 80s, early 90s. The framework. But then, like, the intricacies within it, I mean, they look freaking awesome. I love those belts.
I was like,
better than the penny.
I was like, oh my God, those are the belts that the Natural Disasters had, that Money Inc. had, that the Legion of Doom had, that the Nasty Boys had, that the Art Foundation had. Demolition had. Every single great tag team held those tag team titles. Those are my favorite tag team championships of all time. And it looks just like it. And you know me, I love nostalgia. So the fact that they brought these back made me so happy. I was like, oh my God. It's just a crying shame that one of the two guys that's going to be holding the title looks ugly as shit. Whether or not he has the title on around his waist or over his shoulder or not. Unless they can wrap the belt around his head, that's the only way you're going to make Austin Theory look any better. Or that, or just shove his face in a meat grinder.
Right.
That's the only thing you can do to improve Austin Theory's face. I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Hey, just another possible signing beside Elias for Vince's new wrestling company. Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish. The fish is out there.
So is Ric Flair.
No. Signed to AEW, right? He hasn't been released.
It wasn't a long-term commitment. I thought it was like one of those short-term things.
That's what she said. All right, so I got that. And on Monday, we crowned a new women's champion. After the unfortunate injury to Mommy, Becky Lynch, they went with the safe pick. Nothing wrong with Becky Lynch. You know, she has not had a title on the main roster in over 2 years. She had a fairly quick dalliance with the NXT Women's Championship. But other than that, even though she's been in the main event scene, she has not held that title since she lost it to Bianca Belair a couple years ago at WrestleMania.
The GOAT, Bianca Belair, please.
Yeah. So I'm okay with it. I think it could have been interesting if they went with somebody that, you know, maybe that they were trying to build up.
Chelsea Green?
I would like to do Chelsea Green.
She's winning Money in the Bank this year. Jay, I'm going to tell you right now, I've never been more confident on two people winning the Money in the Bank this year than I am with Chelsea Green winning it for the women's and LA Knight actually winning it for the men's.
Yeah.
I'm actually more confident that LA Knight's going to take it this year than I was last year, and I was damn confident he was going to win last year.
And he didn't.
And then he didn't. I will say this, though. If Chelsea Green wins the women's Money in the Bank, she's going to be the first woman to fail her cash-in. Just because it fits her character, unfortunately. But sure. she's gonna be one of the two champions at some point. She's way too talented. She is one of the most over people. She is incredible. One of my personal favorites. I'd like to see Chelsea with the title. I was a little surprised They had Becky Lynch pull the John Moxley. I was going to go on vacation, so they called me back and became world heavyweight champion. I will say this: it is a very interesting call, considering the fact her contract's expiring rather soon. So I wonder if that was part of the way of like. I'm just thinking like maybe that was one of the ways that they used that to get her signed to a new contract. Is here, if you become world champion, here's your new contract. When your husband's ready to sign his new contract, he's got one too. It's either that or you guys are going to be dealing with Tony Khan and the Young Bucks. Just more AEW fan tears that I can drink every night, because that's the only thing that can quenches my thirst. Nothing quenches my thirst like the tears of AEW fans.
Chris Brown has an interesting Money in the Bank women's winner. I think definitely a possibility. Jade Cargill.
Oh, that would be a real interesting one.
Yeah, I don't put that beyond reason. Jade recently kind of debuted and has been showing up a bit more. She could be one of those ones that they end up switching brands. She has not gotten she has not been there long enough to be like, oh yes, this person's a Raw superstar, this one's a SmackDown superstar. I think she could switch up shows and won't hurt her and would just be a way to make her shine a little bit more. I think a dude like Randy Orton, even though he's not been back for that long, I mean, again, you need to change a couple of the big players so there are different pieces that can play in the main event area for each show. Like, they need to have Randy Orton on the same show as Cody.
Yeah, they need to. Nick Aldis with the first pick for SmackDown tonight should draft Randy Orton. There is not a single wrestler on the roster that I would pick over Randy Orton first overall if I was SmackDown. I am sorry. There is no way, shape, or form. Well, technically, no. I can't say that. Honestly, on the grand scheme of things, Randy Orton would be my first pick. You and I both know who would be my first pick.
Yeah.
He just came back. After they just announced that the King of the Ring is returning, which is one of the notes I still had. He announced himself. He claimed that he's in there.
Or Gunther.
Oh, it'd be Sheamus. You and I both know I would take Sheamus first overall. There's no way, because his music would hit and him and I would be screaming fella at everybody, and posing like I'm freaking Roger Goodell and he's a rookie getting drafted into the NFL.
I would just say that Sheamus said that if he wins King of the Ring this year, and he was making fun of himself a little bit, saying he would be the Burger King.
My favorite was from Monday was when him and Drew were having their thing, and he goes, "Before you were injured, you were banger after banger after banger, and now you look like it's burger." I died. I said, there's only one person that Sheamus is going to allow to say that to him, and that's Drew McIntyre. I loved every single second of it. I love that Sheamus is now getting involved in the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre Twitter beef. The fact that this is the most entertained that I have never been happier to be a WWE fan since before Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon joined forces at WrestleMania 17, which absolutely killed my love for professional wrestling. I have not been this excited to watch wrestling each and every week since the Attitude Era. I am thoroughly entertained because it has a bit of everything. It's got great stories. It's got great wrestling. It's got comedy acts, because even in something as like professional wrestling that needs to be serious, you have to have fun with your doing it. And R-Truth has that covered. Everything that he has done has turned into gold. I've enjoyed the way they've been presenting Sami Zayn as of late. Jay Uso has been doing some great stuff on Raw each and every week. I love a lot
Chad
of
Gable, man.
Chad Gable. I was just about to get to him. Chad Gable is about to do some great stuff. I'm now fully vested to see what they do with Imperium now that Giovanni Vinci got knocked out.
I think I think Chad Gable's going to go on his own. I think it would be more intriguing if Chad Gable comes in as a replacement in Imperium.
I was thinking the same thing. I said I would love to see Chad Gable in Imperium with Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser because nobody would see it, and it would be as close to reminiscent of when Sergeant Slaughter became an Iraqi sympathizer in '91, where the American gold medal winning wrestler Chad Gable joined forces with Gunther. I mean, I know he's Austrian, but you know.
Right.
But that whole presentation, everything, him with those guys, oh my God. How would you stop them? They would have all the belts. All three of them.
Well, they would have to win it from the Spooky Pals first. I mean, they got two of them. They'd have to get a woman in the ranks.
Right, why? Rhea Ripley doesn't have the title anymore, remember?
Oh, right.
That's what happens when you have Liv Morgan beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
That's going to be great, though. I'm excited for and that's another thing. I'm excited for the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. I'm excited to see what they do with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair and on SmackDown. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Bayley. I'm curious to see how they're going to continue on with this bloodline thing. When are we going to see Jacob Fatu? When are we going to see Roman Reigns return? When are we going to see the final boss, The Rock, return? Have we seen the last of John Cena? There's so much going on in WWE, and I didn't even talked about Cody Rhodes as champion yet. WWE is in the best shape it has been in a very long time, and I, as a wrestling fan and as a lifelong WWE fan, I have never been happier. The last time I was this happy was when Steve Austin beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. We're talking 26 years. This is the best. I am fully vested. I get excited to watch. Okay. I'd be lying if I said I actually get excited to actually watch 3 hours of Monday Night Raw because nobody's excited to watch 3 hours of anything, and that's including Red Sox baseball because I don't even enjoy that. And I haven't really enjoyed too many giant football games that are 3 hours long either the last few years. But
Tommy Collins.
The point, yes, that was the only time. The point is that WWE, under this new regime, under what Paul Levesque, Triple H has been doing, has gotten me to really love professional wrestling again. And it's all because Luke Perry decided not to wear a rubber.
Public service announcement from the F and Marks. If you don't want a D-bag for a son, put a cover on it. Thank
you. Practice safe sex, otherwise your child will go on to cost a company its biggest star and all of its ratings. And now their owner is getting compared to two things that he really doesn't want to get compared to. Number one is the previously failed wrestling promotion that once had a shit stain working as its head writer, who thought it was a great idea that I think it was 25 or 24 years ago yesterday or today, decided that it was a great idea to put the heavyweight title on David Arquette. And the only other person he's getting compared to was a guy who died the way he wanted to. Hookers and blow.
Herb Abrams. Yeah.
By the way, Dark Side of the Ring, I'm almost caught up on. I did not get a chance to watch the Sherry Martel episode. Have you seen it yet?
I have not seen Sherry Martel. I did see Chris Adams.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there were certain things I knew about him, but I did not know about the end of him quite like that. I knew that he died in his 40s, but I didn't know hey, he had no more money and was living with some dude, and then according to that guy, he was getting attacked at some point by gentleman Chris Adams, and it sounds like Chris Adams, when sober, was a heck of a guy. But if you got alcohol in him, it sounded like he was tough to deal with. And it sounds like gentleman Chris Adams had a bit too much to drink and was coming at this dude. And this dude felt he needed to shoot him. He said he tried aiming for the shoulder. Chris ended up moving, and he hit part of his heart, and just crazy. The man who invented the super kick and trained Stone Cold Steve Austin. For many years, I would give him great credit for the super kick because we get what we get with the Usos and with the Bucks. It's not his fault that they cursed the move.
Yeah.
But he started the move.
And just remember, this is not any slight on Shawn Michaels because Shawn Michaels does not do a super kick. He has sweet chin music.
Right.
Chris Adams and the others who do it, the Usos and the shitheads from fucking AEW who do it, that's a super kick. When Shawn Michaels tunes up the band and then does to his opponent like he did to Marty Jannetty inside the barbershop window right before Marty Jannetty threw himself through the pane glass window.
And Hulk Hogan, SummerSlam.
Right. But that was sweet chin music. Shawn Michaels is the exception to that rule because Shawn Michaels does not over abuse the super kick.
Breaking news. Bianca Belair is the first pick for SmackDown.
Wow.
I'll take that. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
I mean, considering the champions aren't available, yeah, I think that's a tremendous pick. She's good. I like her a lot. She's one of the wrestlers that has grown on me a lot. I wasn't a huge fan of hers in NXT. I thought she was a great athlete. And then I had a greater appreciation for her when they were doing like the combine thing that they did a few years ago where they had Sabby Piscatelli from the NFL. That was when he was Tito Sabatelli. And they were talking about those people and like seeing her like with all the long jumps and all the things. And I was like, wow, she's an incredible athlete. And then seeing how strong she is, huge fan of hers. She deserves this. Good for her. I'm happy for Bianca. I really am.
First pick for Raw was main event Jey Uso. Okay.
I'm curious to see where Jimmy ends up.
Right. And they say right now Jimmy is injured. It's undisclosed what the injury is or how long, he may be out of action. I guess we shall see. Second pick for SmackDown. Think you're going to like this one. Carmelo Hayes.
Ooh.
I like it.
I like that kid a lot.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of, as R-Truth once said to Shawn Michaels, he's got a lot of HBK in him.
Yeah.
Another one of the great, I had to watch that the other day too when I was watching the R-Truth thing, him and that Shawn Michaels thing. I'm telling you, Johnny Gargano, I see a lot of HBK in you. Shawn I can't, there's nothing he has done that has not made me laugh. I'm sorry.
All right. Second pick for Raw was Seth Franklin Rollins. Clearly Rollins was going to stay on Raw. His wife's there.
Right.
Clearly this also signals to all of us that Seth Franklin Rollins more than likely will be signing his new deal if he has not already signed his new deal with WWE. I know he's injured right now, but
he's not going anywhere.
When he would be coming back, he would only have like 2 months on his contract.
Right.
So clearly they signed him to something more, and I can't wait to see what they do with Seth Franklin Rollins. All
the AEW fans that thought him and his wife were going to go to AEW are just foolish. They're just absolutely foolish idiots. I'm sorry. After WrestleMania, when The Rock was coming out and everybody was coming out saying he was the MVP of WrestleMania weekend, and he was, I'm sorry. Seth Rollins is the heart and soul of WWE. Roman Reigns might have been the biggest star, the top attraction, all that stuff. Seth Rollins was the heart and soul. I don't care. Nothing against Cody Rhodes. Nothing against CM Punk. Nothing against anybody else. Seth Rollins, since he debuted and did the thing with the Shield, has been the heart and soul of WWE. He's been there for over 10 years. He's not going anywhere. Whatever he wants money-wise, they're going to give it to him. Because they're not going to lose Seth Rollins because they know that Seth Rollins would actually be a big-time player in AEW. and they're not stupid enough to let him go. So if they say to Seth Rollins, here's a blank check, you write whatever the fuck you want, Seth Rollins is not going anywhere. Cry your tears, AEW fans. He's not going anywhere.
Cry me a river.
Just like when you cried when Sheamus came back and you thought he was going to go to AEW. Just like you cried when Finn Balor signed his new contract this week. You cry. You cry, AEW fans. I want them on here. I want these AEW fans to come on this podcast every week. And if they got a problem with the Brainless One, come and fucking find me. I'm not afraid of you freaking neck-bearded fucks. I'm not afraid of any of you. You freaking all-elite fan, you elitists. You all freaking dressed like Steve Cutler.
Yeah.
You all think that Kenny Omega's this great wrestler, even though he's stuck his fingers in dudes' buttholes and wrestles 9-year-old Chinese girls, and the fuck doll he shares with Kota Ibushi. You guys think that Jack Perry's actually talented. You guys are nothing more than a cult. That's all you guys are. You are the worst set of human beings on the planet, and you can't tell me otherwise. I've said it. If it wasn't last week, it was the week before. You are the worst thing on the fucking planet.
Breaking news. We need to get our shit done because we're getting Cody versus Carmelo Hayes tonight.
Okay, well.
All right.
Interesting.
This could be like Sami Zayn versus John Cena 10 years ago. Or
Kevin Owens.
That too. Yes. But it also was Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn ended up screwing up his shoulder in the match with John Cena.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And had to go away for like 8 or 9 months. But he proved to Cena that he could go and belonged.
I remember that, yes.
But Captain Cupcake did defeat John Cena while he was NXT champion with the pop-up cupcake bomb.
The cupcake bomb, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I only have a couple more things I have before we get into our good and bad and brainless.
Yeah, me too.
The one thing I did want to talk about was Lars Sullivan was in the news this week.
Yes, he was.
A woman who may or may not have been in a salon in Colorado. I checked the area code to see. I wasn't going to give away all that stuff because I didn't want to blow up this person's spot. But apparently, he was trying to hook up with her and she wasn't having it. So he was writing all this stuff about her on social media, just being a dick. And when he went and confronted her about it, she called him out and said all this shit. And then she put him on blast, saying that this guy was doing this and he's creepy and all this stuff, and put his information out. His name is whatever his real name, Dylan Miley, I think it was. And it got me thinking, like, so she did this. How is he going to react to this?
They would mock me, and they would call me freak.
She called me a freak.
They would mock me, and they would call me freak.
Brainless One, I told you I had a surprise for you today, and I think that you would enjoy it. I took a few minutes before the podcast when I knew that specific human being was going to come up in this. What is being alleged of him, I'm like, yeah, I need to dig this up. And I knew that I had the capabilities with the StreamYard of possibly airing some video footage, and I was like, let me figure this out before the show. Let me figure this out.
That was beautiful. Because I was sitting there going, he's going towards the screen, so either one of two things is happening. He's just going to go out there and promote us with a like, comment, and subscribe to us, or he's going to put Tism time for the Brainless One, and either way, it would have worked both ways. That was even better. I don't even know what to say. Like Ric Flair after the 92 Royal Rumble with a tear in my eye, literally a tear in my eye. This was the greatest day of my life. That was gold. Oh my God. I was not expecting that. And that was... Because I was going to go in the whole bit. And that was even better. Oh, bravo, Cousin Jay.
We'll do it one more.
They would mock me, and they would call me freak.
That is so good.
And if I get time in future episodes, hopefully I'll be able to gather more clips to be able to showcase and sprinkle them throughout the show. This week it felt very necessary.
It was very necessary. That was A plus.
To track that down.
Bravo, Cousin Jay. I'm sorry if it wasn't for history being made later, I would give you my good this week. But I might give it to you next week just because I'm going to be laughing about this for an entire week anyway.
But anyway, this woman at the spa was like, this dude, sends me leaves this threatening and filled with slurs voicemail. And the idiot didn't even block his phone number. So she ends up not only putting him on blast, but also puts his phone number out there. We will not put his phone number out there because I'm sure he's getting plenty of calls, and I'm probably guessing that he's already gotten rid of that phone or phone number. Because she called him a freak. Throws him against the ropes. Two different kinds of breathing there.
Tope Suicida. Nice tag right there by Carmelo Hayes. That was wow. This isn't like when Johnny Knoxville posted Sami Zayn's number out there, because I did try to call Sami Zayn's number.
Yeah.
It was busy because everybody and their brother was literally trying to get a hold of Sami Zayn. I highly doubt that many people are calling, Lars Sullivan, although
he is a freak.
This was just remember, everyone, this is the same man who signed up for a account on the bodybuilding message board, who once upon a time, the brainless one was actually a member of that message board. For the record, it was a good place at the time to talk about professional wrestling and UFC. That's where I was getting a lot of my sources from. That was where I was picking fights with wrestling fans before I was going to Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else. People need to understand, if there's an outlet for the brainless one to go and attack wrestling fans, he's going to find it and he's going to utilize it. That's why he's almost in trouble in Reddit. I've already been in trouble with Twitter a bunch of times. Facebook really hates my guts. Instagram is I've been in 3 different jails and 3 different social medias, so I didn't even know there was an Instagram jail until they put me in it.
They call me
a freak. And that was the worst part is, Jay, when I was reading it and I was like, oh boy. All I could think about was like, that's him going, they called me a freak. And I'm like, yeah, there's that, and then there's Von Wagner. Dad, I got the title match on Wednesday. Let's go.
There you go. Lars Sullivan could be in Vince's new company.
Oh, there you go. That'll really that'll win him over. And while we're at it, he can help Donald Trump in his reelection too.
Chris Brown saying that he believes Twitter has become a deeper cesspool in recent weeks. Maybe.
I just want, I want to point something out, and I'm really bothered by this. Is the fact that I was on Twitter before the podcast started, and because I was trying to get every notes, and I go to every avenue I can to get every single note that I can, in case there's something I had missed, because sometimes I miss something on one website that I could see otherwheres. Well, somebody had posted something, and Elon Musk had called somebody the R word. And I said, wait a minute. How is it that Elon Musk can call somebody retarded?
Yeah.
But when I do it, I end up in Twitter jail.
Now, has that been since Elon Musk took over?
He posted it today.
No,
Oh, you mean me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm just so paranoid because of the fact that whole Lauren Boebert thing that cost me my second Twitter account really just put me in and I'm like, all right. And then I have my inner El Diablo Blanco, and then I start going after other people. And it's always AEW fans. But there's just so many of them out there. And I'm like, geez Louise, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, because I'm going to get in trouble because I'm already under a microscope. Every time I open up the Twitter app, they're like, oh, God, what is this guy going to do? No pun intended. I'm sure it's going to be something brainless. And if you don't believe me, I am at Brainless Uno on Twitter.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of me as Wally. Well, it's not really me, but it's a picture of Wally, the green monster. It changes every so often. If I can start telling people what it looks like so you know it's just me. But right now, I am Wally, the green monster, because go Red Sox. Yeah?
All right. Chris Brown saying, tell the brainless one, I use the Rock shut up bitch clip on every tweet Marjorie Taylor Greene puts out.
Speaking of people who have a punchable face.
Yeah.
I can't stand that woman.
Yeah.
I can really make this political, but I don't really want to make this political.
Anyway, I think that's the main bits of the notes I got.
That's all the main bits of my notes as well.
All right.
I guess. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot. I have a top 10 list.
Yeah?
Yeah. So with all of the stuff that's being talked about today, I figured that I would kind of add on to this by coming up with a very special top 10 list. I was going to come up with a top 10 list of lies that Hulk Hogan is about to say in the foreseeable future, but again, I've already done one of those, and I'm pretty sure those are going to start coming in a lot better. And then I was thinking about the top 10 things I'd like to see with the draft tonight, or even on Monday as well. But then I realized that I couldn't make a trade 10 times. So I thought, what's the best way to do it? Oh, I know. This week, I'm going to give a little bit of credit where credit is due to somebody who I never thought was going to actually take a bump in the wrestling industry. And that is Mr. Tony Khan. And after taking one of the shittiest punches that was not thrown by Shane McMahon, and he dropped like a sack of potatoes, and he sold it. And he sold it, and he sold it, and he sold it. So that is what I got for this week. The top 10 people Tony Khan sells better than. Number 10, Tommy Callahan. And if you don't believe me, you need to watch Tommy Boy because it takes him a while to learn how to sell, and Tony Khan sold better than he did.
Yes.
For my fans of The Office that tune into this podcast, number 9, Andy Bernard. The Nard Dog was not a very good salesman. In fact, Madge from The Warehouse sold more than Andy Bernard did. And just like at FedEx, it's the same rule at Dunder Mifflin. If you are a shitty salesman, you become a shitty manager as well.
Yeah?
Sorry, Michael Scott. At the end of the day, you were a shitty manager. But you weren't worse than D'Angelo Vickers or Andy Bernard, and I will stick by that. Number 8, any of the players on his soccer club. I've watched enough soccer matches in my life to see these guys falling down after they trip over their shoelaces and act like somebody shot them in the leg. And even then, Tony Khan sold better than they did. Number 7, the brainless one. Wait, what? The brainless one? Why am I on my own list? Wait a minute. Did Stevie Richards chime in and tell them that I'm not a good salesman because I sold him the wrong portable DVD battery extender for his portable DVD player and gave me a look that 21 years later still haunts me? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Okay, I knew it. Damn it, Stevie Richards, I'm sorry. Anyway, number 6, Bugsby. I saw that dog take one of the most devastating 5-star dog splashes ever. And he got up like he was tagging up with Kenny Omega in a tag team match.
Yeah.
He took that and, oh shit, the Pacers just beat the Bucks. I don't know why ESPN keeps giving me these notifications. It's just going to piss me off when the Giants draft somebody stupid tonight. But yeah, they can't do that again. But that, I will say this, Bugsby sold that like he did not even take that dog splash. So for me, Tony Khan sold better than the cat. Number 5, Al Bundy. I once watched an episode of Married with Children where he was trying to install a satellite dish on the roof of his house, and he fell and landed on his head and was still able to get up. And that and the fact that he sold women's shoes, so you already know he can't sell for shit anyway.
Right.
Number 4, LeBron James. I've never seen anybody hit the ground and start crying, except maybe Paul O'Neill when he was playing for the Yankees, the way LeBron James does. And I'm going to tell you right now, LeBron, nobody's buying the fact that you're hurt or any of that stuff. Sorry, you're not a good seller. Number 3, Del Griffith. Only because if Del Griffith was any better of a salesman, he would not be selling shower curtain rings. He'd be selling something with a little bit more substance. Look at these. These are like anti-gravity earrings here. You put them right there. Yeah, they look great.
Yeah, this signed by Daryl Strawberry.
That and the fact that he could not sell the motel manager on $2 in a Casio for a room.
I absolutely played it so well.
I absolutely love that movie, and I love John Candy.
Go.
Number 2, Vince McMahon. You could take this a number of ways. Whether it's Vince McMahon couldn't sell a stunner to save his life, or the fact that Vince McMahon sold all of his TKO stock to just be rich so he's completely out of the company. Either way, Tony Khan is a better salesman than Vince McMahon. So that is 2 through 10, Cousin Jay. Would you care to venture a guess who is the number 1 person that Tony Khan sells better than?
It's got to be John Cena.
Wrong.
Gotta be. Come on.
Here it is.
SummerSlam 2010.
With the list being through 10 through 2.
1. Exhibit 1.
I'm going to say you're wrong because I'm going to tell you this much. Tony Khan, not only does he sell better than those other 9 people, Tony Khan also sells better than any other AEW wrestler on the roster not named Samoa Joe, because we all know that of all the people who sell everything in this world, nobody outsells Joe.
Yeah?
Kenny Omega ate 7 consecutive Canadian destroyers from his fuck doll and still kicked out at 2. John, you can literally blow John Moxley up and he would still get up.
Well, we tried that.
All Elite Wrestling should not even be All Elite Wrestling. It should be All No-Sell Wrestling. Because there's not a wrestler on that roster outside of Samoa Joe and a lot of lifelong
Edge
WWE
and Christian.
I was about to say, outside of Samoa Joe and any long-standing WWE veterans, guys like Christian and Edge, who have been in the business forever, who get it, who understand the philosophy and the psychology of professional wrestling, yes, they can sell it, and they're really good. Obviously, Christian Cage is good. He's top 3 greatest
Heels.
Not goats. Heels of all time. The Big Boss Man is definitely number 1. It's questionable who number 2 is. It's either Christian Cage or it's Drew McIntyre, one of those 2. Can't go wrong with them. But yes, nobody in AEW knows how to sell except for Samoa Joe, and that's because Samoa Joe sells Samoan cookies better than anybody sells anything ever.
Braun Breaker is about to have a squash match.
Oh, who's he squashing this week?
Local jobber. Okay, I'm sorry. I know you like local competitor.
Local competitor. Jobbers were Barry Horowitz, Tony
Iron Mike
DeVito.
Sharp,
Iron
Jumping
Mike
Jim
Sharp,
Powers.
Damian Demento, the guys who would come back each and every week, not go to a different area, and it's like, here, we're going to get Joe Smith, Frank, Fred,
Jack Foley.
Jack Foley, James Ellsworth. Any man with two hands has a fighting chance. Right before I get Gronk spiked by Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got. Cousin Jay, do you have anything else?
I think that is it, brainless one.
So does that mean it's time for our good
Our bad.
and our brainless?
Yes.
All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, I think there were a lot of really good things, positive things that happened in professional wrestling this week. And this one thing is something I did not mention throughout the entire show, but it made me smile. There's a man, Captain Nick K. I'm wondering if his last name's Khan, but he left Bayley a message. When he realized Bayley was on his plane, he said, I'm a big fan. Please keep being mean to Michael Cole. I wanted a payoff so badly in the Bayley-Michael Cole feud. We never got it because Bayley got injured and was out for a while. And when she came back, she was still mouthing off a little bit to Michael Cole, but not in the same way. I was hoping they would revisit that. And I'm glad that Captain Nick K put it in Bayley's ear, and maybe it'll reach the ears of Triple Paul, and maybe it'll be part of a creative direction where she's still a babyface, but still makes fun of Michael Cole.
Okay. I love that too. When I saw the note, I thought that was just really good. It just you never know who's actually a wrestling fan,
Right?
you know, and it's crazy to think that because there's been people I'm like, holy shit, I did not know they were a huge wrestling fan. Like to find out that the creators of Married with Children were huge wrestling fans because they named the Bundys after King Kong Bundy and they named the Rhodes after Dusty Rhodes.
And they had King Kong Bundy come on.
No, that's because King Kong Bundy, F. Mark's Hall of Famer King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
Was a goat and is a goat. One of my personal favorites. The king of the squash matches.
Yes.
But my good for this week, I don't think I've ever said this before. If I did, I don't remember it. Tony Khan. As stupid as it was, the way that they did it with the whole Jungle Boy thing and all that stuff, and they attacked him, and then the Bucks came out with Okada and they did the Meltzer driver and everything. I wanted to crucify it. I wanted to say all this shit. Having them carry him out of the ring and everything. I said, wait, I'm going to hold off judgment. I'm going to give it to him this week. This is what I said Thursday morning, yesterday. I said, if he comes out on the draft tonight for the first round and he's wearing a neck brace or he's all bandaged up or he looks like Zack Ryder when Kane was going around beating the shit out of him, I will give him my good. So the fact that he came out last night wearing a neck brace, I said, he gets it. He is not killing kayfabe. I don't care that he's moving his head around. He didn't have to do it. He wore the neck brace. His dad embraced it. And on top of it, the GOAT, Rich Eisen, mentioned the fact that Tony Khan was wearing the neck brace because he took a pile driver from one of his wrestlers the night before. I appreciate all the little nuances of that. Because when you can take it, professional wrestling, and put it in the outside world and use it as part of a storyline, especially because we've been crucifying AEW for not having storylines. So the fact that they actually have some kind of a storyline going, really don't care how it ends up because it's going to end up with Jack Perry and the Bucks in it, so I don't give a shit. But the fact that Tony Khan did that, I truly appreciate it. Now he's got to rock the neck brace like Cowboy Bob Orton rocked the cast on his arm for 75 years.
Right.
So Tony Khan, you get my good for this week.
Wow. That's very impressive after his streak of being bad or brainless, which almost surpassed WWE with their sellouts on televised events.
Yes, very much. What do you got for your bad?
You know, I've been waffling with this. Like I had a firm couple of picks for bad and brainless, and I've been going back and forth. I think I have to go with the PR firm that has decided to take on Vince McMahon as their client. Have some principles. When you read about the things that this man allegedly did, and you see kind of some what I would call serious circumstantial evidence that points in the direction that this is 100% true, who would make up the stories that are in those documents that are out there? How can you, in good conscience, represent somebody that could have done something as reprehensible as that?
Yeah.
So that PR firm, Citric and Company, you get my bad this week.
Okay. That's understandable too.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a bad too. And believe me, I was going to give Lars Sullivan my bad or brainless this week. I really wanted to. But unfortunately for him, other people exist in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And this week is no exception either, as my bad will go to Tony Khan. That performance on Wednesday, I am sorry. The horrible punch that he took. The stupid shit-eating face on fucking Jungle Jack-Off's face when he was hugging him. He collapsed. Like I don't even know. Like that's not even how you fake collapse. It was horrible. That would have been better suited just to have him take one right in the gut just once. It looked bad. It looked cheesy. And then the pile driver wasn't any better. So I'm sorry. Between that and the low ratings, and I know we could sit there and say all the NBA playoffs and all that stuff, but, the numbers proved it. The numbers don't lie. They've gone down every single year. They're not expanding their audience. They're just trying to keep the ones they have, and they're having a hard time. And I would like to see what those numbers look like if you take out the Sheldon Cooper fans at the beginning of the show. So for me, I'm sorry. With all that happened on Wednesday, Tony Khan gets my bad this week.
Okay.
What do you got for your brainless?
They would mock me, and they would call me freak.
It's not going to be not funny.
I gotta go with Lars Sullivan.
I don't blame you.
Like that's like the kid that calls in like a bomb threat to school because they don't want to take a test, and it was like on a day that it snowed, and they just walked back to their house. That's more or less what Lars Sullivan just did, but he's not 12-year-old kid calling into the school, inexperienced, naive, stupid, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
You're talking about a dude who much older than that, like leaves a trail and a trace of himself. And it's like going, dude, you are dumb as all shit. And for that, Lars Sullivan, you freak. You get my brainless this week. That rhymed.
Yes, it did. Very good. Maybe you're the rapping one of the two of us.
Well, if we don't get no tolls, then we don't get no rolls.
Although I was once upon a time the rapping Robo.
Yes.
It was really Robo, but they called it Robo. And like I said, I teased it at the beginning of the podcast. I teased it because of Jay before the podcast. This is history at its finest. 356 episodes. I know we haven't been doing Good, Bad, and Brainless for 356 episodes, but however, we've been doing it for quite a few years. And I can guarantee you this, that up until episode 356, we had never, ever had a clean sweep of Good, Bad, and Brainless until this week. Because my Brainless for this week will also go to Tony Khan.
Yeah.
I am sorry. You came out, you won me over for a very brief moment last night, coming out with the neck brace. I like that it was a nice touch. I like the fact that the announcers announced that that's what happened to you and all that stuff. Everything was falling into place, and I said, you know what? I was ready to give Tony Khan a pass for the rest of this year from my negativity, my venom, and my vitriol. But then he came out and did an interview with the people from the ESPN, the NFL Network, and completely just shit all over himself. And it took him 24 hours to go from it took him 48 hours to go from my bad to my good to my brainless. You come out and you do an interview with the people from the NFL Network, and you're trying to sell what happened. And you say that AEW is like Pepsi. Everybody likes Pepsi. WWE, as you guys know, they're our number one competitor. But them, they are not the Coke, because heaven forbid if Tony Khan says a negative thing about Coke, it's not physically possible for him to do it. He called WWE the Harvey Weinstein of professional wrestling. WWE has a partnership with the NFL. They own the exclusive rights to the championships that they have, that they make for the NFL teams, that they give to the players, that they sell to the fans. There is a partnership there. You came off as stupid. You came off as somebody who really shouldn't be in the position that they're in. And your interview after, because the NFL guys were like, what the hell we got to do? We got to try to steer this back and get this away from this because he's saying all this shit.
Yeah.
You called the people who are employees of WWE Harvey Weinstein. And this is, and it doesn't help the fact that Weinstein has had his fucking case get dropped.
One of them.
One of his cases get dropped.
He's still in prison.
But the fact that you did this, I am sorry, Tony Khan. You get my brainless this week, and you are the first person ever in the history of this podcast to get a clean sweep of good, bad, and brainless. And that's not something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on the X Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you'd like, follow and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we go live, you will be notified that we are going live, whether it's on the X, whether it's on the YouTubes, or whether it's on the Facebooks. We also put the episodes up on Spotify so you can take the show on the road with you. And, every week we want all of you to like, comment, subscribe, but the comments really help fuel this show. And, we get to talk about our favorite sport that we all love to hate, professional wrestling.
All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
The Jets are getting a pass because they actually did something not stupid at the draft last night too. So they will not be, they get a pass. They will get a pass. They were not the sport I love to hate. That is now AEW.
Ooh. Breaking news. Paul Heyman just attacked backstage by Solo after Heyman apologized to him.
Oh, jeez.
Interesting.
Layers. There's layers to this.
Yeah.
That's why when Paul Heyman said that the Bloodline storyline was only in the third inning not too long ago, because everybody thought it was going to die once Cody Rhodes took the title. They didn't realize that there was a lot more mileage on this thing.
Wrong. So
it's only going to get better, and The Rock's going to be a part of it, which makes it that much better.
All right. So that is it, right? Nothing else, right?
I think that's it. That is absolutely, there's not another thing in this.
Wait.
Hello, Curtis Axel. Hello, Brainless One. I just want you to know that when Cousin Jay had said that he had a very special surprise for me for this podcast, that my first thought was that he actually somehow, some way was able to convince you to physically make an appearance on this podcast which would have been the only thing that would have topped Bucky Beaver and Sheamus returning with the Shameful Thing Lobster Head song as my markout moment of the year. But that is okay, Curtis Axel, because I got something that was so much better because I laughed my ass off. And I'm going to be laughing my ass off the rest of the night, the rest of the weekend, and I'm going to go and watch that clip over and over and over and over again until I have fully belly laughed to the point where I have nothing left. But since there's nothing else left, I think we should just do the one last thing. And you know what that is. That's right, Brainless One. That's because today, April 26th of 2024, oh my God, I almost said 2023, at an astonishing 3,379 days, I, FM Marks Hall of Famer, is still alive in the WWE. Oh God. And the oh my God, in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
2015 Royal Rumble, baby.
I don't know where the hell that went from. Jesus
and
crackers.
The leader coming into the clubhouse for Brainless for next week.
Hey, Tony Khan is always the leader heading into every clubhouse.
Yeah.
So for episode 357 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am definitely brainless after this episode. And make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everyone. Have a good week. We will not do the show on Friday next week, and we will figure out a day, time, and all that stuff for it, and we will let you know.
TBD.
TBD.
Yeah?
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 Yeah?